Booknerds, everyone out there, if you're tuned to the Olympics and you're not watching this, you got to watch this immediately because we have with us an accomplished Olympian and an equestrian Olympian. For those of you who don't know about the sport, you ride a horse, and we'll know many more things from Mr. Imtiaz Anees. Welcome, Imtiaz.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
We'll be talking about this particular book, Riding Free, and it's the autobiography. Is it shining? Oh, I'll bring it closer. Yeah, right here. So, yeah, this is the autobiography of someone who has been through it all. He has seen it all, had his share of struggles, a great journey which will be inspiring to so many kids out there. A little bit more about Imtiaz. He's also a trainer, a competitor, coach, and NBC commentator. And, he has got a boutique stable in Gujarat as well right now. And he'll tell us more about it, what happens there. But regarding the book, my first impression, and I'll be very honest, it moved me so much. I was crying. And that's what a book lover really needs from a book. I mean, rather than, the Tharuresque English, I would rather prefer, being, moved by the book. Be it, I could laugh, I could cry, whatever. And the book did it for me. And thank you so much for writing this down. I think so. You have done a great service to the sport more than anything else. So thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. And I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
So Imtiaz, you have been doing a lot of, interviews all over the media, on Times Now and stuff like that. Let's start with the horses. And that's something which, kind of moved me about the book the most. Let's talk about the horses from the beginning. It might take a little bit of time, but take us through, because I know, I mean, you would prefer a horse right now talking to you rather than myself. Isn't it true?
No,
Isn't
no,
it?
absolutely, absolutely. It's. I'm nice that you start with that because really it's all about the horses.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's why I wake up every morning. That's why I live. That's why I eat. It's always been around the horses. And even the book, when
Yeah.
you look at the chapters, it's the horses that the different horses that came into my life. Each one was very special.
Yeah.
Each one I had a bond with, and each one took me to the level that they could. So it's not like you get your first horse. It's just like your school teacher. You get your class 1, you have a school teacher. That's not the same school teacher you have when you do class 10, but that class 1 is also important because without that class 1, you cannot go to class 2 and class 3. So every teacher plays an important role in your life. And that's what these horses are. They're really teachers. We think we're teaching them, but actually it's the other way around. They're teaching us.
Yeah.
So we have to find that bond.
Let's talk about Rajesh first. Then we'll go on to everything else, because I feel that's a kind of very important moment.
Absolutely.
Because if that wouldn't happen, I mean,
Nothing would have happened.
yeah.
It would have started.
Tell us.
I was very fortunate. My grandfather had this horse called Rajesh, and he was a gray horse, which we call gray in equestrian, but actually he was a white horse. He was strong. He had a big neck. He was a powerful fellow, and he's thrown my grandfather off. He's thrown my mother off. They were also avid horse riders. He's thrown my sister off, everybody. And when I was only 5 years old, my only dream was to ride Rajesh. And I was never allowed because I was too small and they were too scared that he would throw me off. So I would spend all the time on the ground with him, whether it was brushing him, cleaning him, bathing him. I would tell him all my stories, all my complaints, all my how I hate school and how I hate my maths teacher, whatever it was, whatever was on my mind. So I built that bond with him to the actual day that I actually could ride him. I was 5 years old and I begged and begged my parents. And they said, I don't know how, but they agreed. And it was just unbelievable. There were like 500 instructions. Don't do this, do that, hold the reins like this, be careful. I just forgot all those instructions. Just it was me and Rajesh. I said, we are best of friends in the stable. We're going to be best of friends in the ring as well. And we just bonded. It was just unbelievable. And that really set the tone because I was so fortunate to have that relationship with him that we just, in any competition we entered, it wasn't about the winning. For me, I was just so happy being on him. I was like so proud that I'm riding Rajesh. So and the win just happened because of that. So I was not going for win. I was not thinking I want to come first. I want to come second. For me, it was just to be able to ride and be on him. For us, that was our relationship. And he also realized that, we are here at a great time and let's win this competition. And that's what happened.
Awesome. I mean, because this is so integral. I mean, while you're like performing at any level, in fact,
Right.
I mean, I have played my share of sports in school, and our school also encouraged it. Not the kind of boarding school atmosphere, but
Yes.
whatever we could get in day schools. But the psychological part of it, it's
Right.
so important. Do you think, ample kind of attention is given to that? Because I think half the battle is right there.
Of course, it's all mentally. Like, when I even look at these sportsmen, I keep telling him, talent everybody has.
Yeah.
And if you want to win on the competition day, it's all about the mindset. You know what I mean? It's about those who are calm. I'll give you a perfect example, taking it a little bit away. It's like,
Yeah.
look at Djokovic.
Yeah.
When he's there, he was 2 sets down in the French Open,
Yeah. Yeah.
third set also losing, and how he turned the match around. Not because he's a better, that he hit harder or he ran faster. Everything was the same, but it was a mind game.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's all about. So mentally, we have to be extremely strong.
Yeah. And I mean, we were talking about horses, and there are so many mentioned in the
Yes.
book: Arizona,
Yes. Yes.
Edge, and Baggy. Who can
Yeah.
forget Baggy? Rustam. I mean, there's a small part there about Rustam
Yes.
and Oscar, and of course Kevin. I mean, a
The
legend.
Wonder Horse.
Yeah. So I won't ask you who was the most special, because they were different sort of,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but
Okay.
a little bit of everything, some experiences which were like, you felt that this, I mean, you might call it an animal,
Yes.
but for the sport it is like 50%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what our sport is. It's so lovely that it's between you and your horse. When you look at any other sport, like you look at cricket or you look at football, you once the game is over, you put your gear in the kit bag and it's forgotten. For
Yeah.
us, we can't forget. So we have to still come back and look after the horse, care for the horse, management of the horse, and you have to know that horse inside house. So even though as you said, there are many horses that came into my life, Rajesh, then I had Arizona, then I had even Rebellion and Gazelle. They were lovely, lovely horses that I had, but I spent so much time with them to get to know them.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It was not only in the ring. It was not only in the competition, because then it doesn't work that way. It's anything in life. You've got to get down to the grassroots, and this applies to life. When you
Right.
go to work, when you go to office, don't just go and sit in your cabin and start working. You have to make the rounds. You have to go to
Right.
the ground floor as well. You got to see where the photocopy machine is, or even
True.
go to where the tea is made, because
Right.
then you know how your operation is running.
Yeah.
How is everybody, because it's the atmosphere, the culture. That is very important. So each horse of these were very, very special to me
Yeah.
in small, small ways of building that bond, taking to the next level.
Yeah.
I remember them so much. It's quite. I have to tell you this, but
Yeah.
I have my equestrian stable in Nargol, which is in
Yes.
Gujarat,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I have 16 stables, and every
Yeah.
stable has a brass plaque with all these horses' names. So I've dedicated
Oh.
each stable
Oh,
to one stable
wow.
to Rajesh, one stable to Arizona, Baggy, because those are the
Very
horses
nice.
that made me.
Yeah.
I am who I am today. Even we're
Yeah.
having this conversation today because of them. The book is because of them.
True, true. I mean, that is very thoughtful of you, and I wouldn't expect less, because I think I practically know you. I mean, it's like, I've read the book, I've been through the journey with you, and on page 95, especially, you have written that maybe the universe would change course for me. With no horse, no base, and no plan, I strode into the future with the only weapons I had: my passion, though some might call it madness, and my focused determination to try and qualify for the Olympics. And this was quite a tumultuous time for you. I
Yes.
mean, I wouldn't say like because you had a job and stuff, but
No, no.
not because of that. Just you wanted to achieve something, achieve greatness.
Yes.
And tell us about the thought process during that time. And of course, these are like great words, to be honest, for anybody who wants to achieve anything.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Those sort of stages have been, it was like, there was only 2 years left for the Olympic Games, and I was lost. I didn't even know where to go, what to do, but I could not, there was no turning back. That was not an option for me. I came from a back, my parents' support was so much. So many people have helped me to this point. I always carried that burden on me everywhere I went. Whether it was a burden or not, I don't know. I use it in a positive way,
Yeah.
to say that look at the amount of people that have got me to this place. I can't let them down.
Right.
So it was not only about letting yourself down, but I
Yeah.
couldn't let them down as well.
True.
So that is really important in life, to really realize that there are lots of people who have gone out of their way to help you. So
Yeah.
when you make a decision like that's quick, oh, I'm not going to do it. Wow, look at the amount of years of people that have
Yeah.
invested in their time, and not for any money. not for anything in return. There was nothing, it was not like they were going to get any coverage or they wanted anything. They did it from the goodness of their heart.
Right.
So I was very fortunate that even when I was in stages like this and I wasn't sure, I had wonderful support and
Yeah.
everybody around me was positive. Nobody ever said, "Yeah, what are you doing? You're
Yeah.
out of your comfort zone. Go back. You've already tried. You've done your best. This is wonderful. You've already achieved more than anybody else would have achieved." No,
Right.
no, no. I didn't have those people. I had people
Right.
around me saying, "You haven't yet finished. The goal is the Olympic
Wow.
Games. You got to keep going." And so I kept pushing on.
But it's so important that to have those kind of people around you. I mean,
Yes.
because there are so many detractors there
Yes.
when
Yes.
you're trying to set your goal at something so far-fetched. I
Yeah.
mean, the Olympic Games from India
In equestrian.
in equestrian. First of all, half the people don't understand what you're talking about. The spelling itself is so tricky,
Very true. Very true.
So of course, people can go and Google about the sport and the rules and stuff. But I wanted to know more about your mentors. I mean, you
Yes.
have talked about help, and so many mentors you have mentioned. How did you get so lucky? I
I
mean,
know. I was very lucky. So, when I was only, as I said, I mean, that's the start of the whole book. It's like actually, instead of riding free, the book should have been called Diana, because I mean, can you imagine? I was only
yeah,
11 years old and
yeah,
I had this English lady, very, very proper. And she was, come
yeah,
from English countryside and her husband was posted in India and
yeah,
she came to India and she got to know my family and she really lived basically at home because she was
yeah,
so lost in,
yeah.
it's thrown like, in the sharks in
Yes.
the deep sea in Mumbai.
Yeah,
And she took, she used to train me when I was 11 years old. And
yeah,
every single day I showed up, I did not miss a single day. And
yeah,
right till the Olympics, 20 years, she
yeah,
stuck, we stayed together. So there was no misunderstanding. There was never a point where we doubted each other. No, 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 no. And no exchange of money. And she was the true mentor
wow,
because not only she was the top rider, but she
yeah,
was extremely well traveled, extremely well read. So
yeah,
like there was not a book that I don't think she had read, and so
yeah,
she was so knowledgeable. So I would just
yeah,
look up to her all the time, and to have someone like that in my life who was so strong
yeah,
and so knowledgeable was amazing. So and I was very lucky throughout my life. I had wonderful mentors.
yeah,
So I always tell people there's a difference between a coach and a mentor. A
yeah,
coach is somebody who coaches you, trains you in the ring, and does fitness, does your cardio
yeah,
and your technique, and
yeah,
but a mentor looks at the whole big picture.
right,
Has to look at your mind state, has to look
yeah,
where you want to go, the
right,
planning, not just now, two
yeah,
years, three
yeah,
years, 4 years, help you make those decisions. And
yeah,
she was just wonderful that I had a two-in-one.
right. But I mean, I didn't notice this. The fact that there was no commercial transaction. I mean, somebody, I don't know of a lot of people who would do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll tell you this, being because we're talking about books, but the publisher actually, when they read through the book, they say what things are missing, or you said you got to bring this in or got to bring that in. And
yeah,
one of the questions was that, you mean to say all these people did this before no financial thing? Obviously, because they thought I was lying, and they said
yeah,
they can't
yeah,
publish a book like that. And I said,
right.
no, that's the reason I'm writing the book. To tell people that,
But that I
all
don't
these,
blame them actually. I
yeah.
don't blame them because that was one question. I was like, why are these people helping him? So I think goodness is of course there.
Yeah.
And another part, I mean, page 145, which struck me. I mean, maybe for some people who have read the book it won't be that important, but
Yeah.
it was really important for me. When the commentator, Lucinda Green,
Yes.
from England, who was an Olympian and the winner of many four-star events, and of course we'll ask you a little bit about four-star events, the
Yes. Yes.
difficulty level, gave me a very flattering introduction in her commentary, as I learned later. She said, Imtiaz Anees came to Australia thinking this was the place to learn, preparing and competing in many 2 and 3 star events in eventing over the last 4 years, qualifying for the Olympics. What a great story this is. He knew nobody, nobody knew him. He started from scratch, learned the rules and ropes, buttonholed anybody he could for advice, made a lot of friends, and will make a lot more today. This is a seriously wonderful achievement. What initiative and determination. He's the first Indian rider to compete a four-star event. India can be so proud about this man, and it's all founded on his being a really nice fellow. Such a great thing to say to someone, and uh, it had to be part of the book, of course. Um, when someone says that to you, how do you take it?
Well, you're always humble. You're always humble all the time. But that's who I've always been. That you have to be humble in everything that you do in life. Because we can't do this alone. I could have said, well, I'm an Olympian and I did this on my own. No, it doesn't work that way. So even
Right.
in an individual sport, it's always a team. So just like when you look at car racing, you
Yeah.
can be the fastest driver, but you only win a race depending on how fast your team changes your tires. you know
Right.
it's teamwork.
Yeah.
So for me, that was really, really important, that I could have never done this by myself. Not only that, the support I got, the mentors I got, the
Yeah.
coaches I got, but as the other thing in the horse, I got so many people who gave me horses free. Like till
Oh,
I was riding till I was 30 years old, I never owned a horse also. I would just get excellent horses to ride.
yeah.
So it was just the relationships I made with people, with horses, and that's what the book is about. It's not only a sporty book or a book only
Right.
about the
Right.
Olympics. It's about
Yeah.
telling people that you have to look at everything very holistic.
Yeah. But you have talked about where you got your people skills from, and I mean, I don't say it as luck, because you
No.
kind of have to push. I mean, you
Yes,
have to
yes,
go for
absolutely.
it. And you have
You make
mentioned
your
that,
luck.
yeah, you have to you have asked help from so many strangers, asked for help, and that's amazing. Tell us a little bit about the initial years, Sanawar, and you didn't like it particularly in the
Yes.
beginning.
So I went to boarding school because my parents were a bit scared of when I was riding so much. They thought I'll only become maybe become a size or something at the stables, because again nobody ever thought anybody can become an equestrian rider. So
Yeah.
I was sent to boarding school in Lawrence School, Sanaa. It was a beautiful school up in the hills, and it was so gorgeous. Of course, at that age we never looked at the beauty of it. But I was a very young, timid, sort of a privileged background, bit
Yeah.
spoiled from Bombay,
Yeah.
and then to be sent into this, like literally, it was tough, very tough, and I was very homesick. I missed my horses. I missed my parents.
Yeah.
Even on my desk, everybody had a picture of their parents. On their desk. I had a picture of Rajesh. Out there. I used to look at him. And even my school friends used to say, "Yeah, we
Yeah.
still remember your pictures of Rajesh." I mean, like you
Yeah.
would keep on telling us stories of Rajesh. We were like talking about our mom and dad. You're talking about Rajesh out there. Because I was so homesick. But it was tough. It was tough. But it made me who I am.
Yeah.
It made a man out of me. It made me stand on my own. I got some great friends and I learned a lot, but it took me a long time. So that's another thing of perseverance started from that age, because I could have, as the book also says, there were stages where I wanted to quit. And my parents also was saying that
You
it's not
tried hard. You tried
exactly.
hard.
I tried everything possible. I mean, whatever it was, I said, I have to get out of this place. But they also stuck with it. So as parents, they're also sitting crying. I'm crying out there. Everybody's upset, but they still stayed with it. They'll say, no, this is the best for him. He
Yeah.
needs it, because today, if we don't push him through it, he'll always back out of things. Whatever things,
Yeah.
whenever the tough get going,
Yeah.
when the going gets tough,
Yeah.
he'll back out. So
Yeah.
it's, how the saying, when the tough get go, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. It should be that way.
True.
So Sana was beautiful at the end. At the end, and now I look back and I say, wow, I mean, how amazing foundation for me to have, to
Yeah.
have that kind of a school. It was beautiful and great sports. I made some wonderful friends, and it's
Do you
all
go
in the book.
back? Do you go back sometimes?
Yes, yes, I've gone back to the school, because I was school prefects on the board. My name is there and
Oh,
things like that.
wonderful.
So it's
Wonderful.
nice. And, actually, I mean, just to get off a little bit of the topic, but a classmate of mine now is the principal of the school as well. So
Oh,
it has a little bit more of a connection and things like
right.
that. But,
Right.
it was a great school, great school.
Let's talk about setbacks,
Yeah.
because, of course,
The
success.
whole book is that there's more setbacks and there are more failures than successes.
Goodness, and almost, I don't want to give spoilers, because this is a story. I
Yeah.
don't want to give spoilers, and I won't, because it will keep the suspense going. uh, Tell me about the Asian Games, setback that happened, and I was like heartbroken. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
heartbroken.
yeah.
Like, what the heck is happening?
No, no, no. It was.
What is it? Why is this guy jinxed?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I really, it was tough. It was not easy at all. Again, I'm not going to go into the details of what exactly happened in the book,
Yeah,
but to be dropped from a team at the last minute, it's
yeah,
not easy. And I was really young, when you're 19 years old, and look at the amount I had put into it, traveling from Delhi to Jalandhar to Jaipur. And in those days, we were traveling in these trucks, the
right.
open air trucks, me and my horse, all by myself. There are no cell phones and things like that. My parents had no idea, and they didn't even know. They couldn't call me. I had to reach the place at night. I would go to one of the dhabas, use their
Yeah,
payphone, that 1 rupee coin, and then, Mom, I'm fine, and
Yeah.
never told them where I was or what difficulties were,
Yeah.
because otherwise they would have stopped it. They would have never allowed me to do all these things. I mean, reaching Bihar, in the middle of the night in those sort of
Wow.
places in those days was quite dangerous, but
True.
I was
True.
just driven by my passion that
Yeah.
whatever it takes,
Yeah.
I'm going to make it happen. So when something like this setback happened, it was quite hard. But again, I had wonderful people. So my parents also, when they were there, of course, they were also shattered. Everybody's upset. But
Yeah.
the first thing they asked me, they said, "What do you want?" And the first answer I gave was, to represent India. They said, "Then get back on the saddle." So
Oh,
there were
wonderful.
no options for me.
Wonderful.
It's not like if I had said, "No, you already." My parents didn't say, "Well, you already given it your best. You've got the Indian blazer. You
Yeah.
were there at the Asian game. Maybe you didn't get to ride, but at least you actually still qualified. You were selected. This is a good thing. Now let's go and do something else."
Right.
They never said something like that. They said, "No, you aren't finished.
Yeah.
This is what you set out to do. Complete it."
Yeah. I besides the book, I just wanted to ask you maybe a more philosophical
Yeah, yeah.
question. What does winning mean to you? I mean, because it's there for a lot of people, and especially on the internet, like you got to be winners. You
Yeah, yeah.
have to be a winner. Like, what's winning for you?
I know exactly. It's absolutely nothing. It's just like the cherry on the ice cream. It's nice to win. But
Yeah.
it's the journey. You
Yeah.
have to understand. Even now today, when you look at the Olympic Games, everybody's running about how many medals are we going to win, how many medals, but nobody's gone into the lives of those people, what
Right.
they've gone through, where they've come from.
Yeah.
Some of them even have a 3-course meal, and
Yeah.
they're now representing the country. And there
Yeah.
are people out there who've got 5 stars and driving Mercedes and have more money than they can think of and don't need to work, and
Mhm.
still they don't play the sport. These people
Mhm.
have really pushed themselves, sweat, sacrifices, family, financial, lots of problems. So to
Right.
me, winning is just the cream. That's something that, of course, every sportsman, any sport that you want to win, you like to win. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice, but it's not the be all and end all. For
Right.
me, it's the journey that I've gone through, the relationship I've had with my horse, the people that have helped me achieve to get to that stage.
Yeah. A follow-up question to that. A lot of people believe that this sport is for the privileged,
Right.
and um, how do you plan to kind of take it to the grassroots? Because without that, most of the Olympians are coming from
Yes.
tier 2, tier
Yes.
3,
Yes. Yes.
mostly tier 3, I would say.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So looking at that scenario and looking at the sport, it's kind of a contradiction,
Right.
and only one person has qualified, and Mr. Mirza has done that.
Yes.
How do you look at it in the
So I
long?
think right now it's growing in the right direction. It's still got a
Okay.
long way to go. 20 years ago, I was the only civilian. So
Yeah.
it was the army dominated. It was in only army cantonment areas. So the accessibility also was hard. Today, it's now gone into the civilian hands. There are more civilian shows. When I used to compete, there was only one. I was one. Now we are 500 to 1,000 civilian riders, little kids, youngsters. It's gone into the two-tier cities, and it rightfully said by you.
Yeah.
That's where it has to go. And I've been saying that in all my interviews and everywhere. The government has to start because it used to be only associated with the racing world. Wherever the race
Mhm.
course is, it was an offshoot of the race course. They had a riding center because the horses were there, the riding place was there.
Mhm.
But there's no space. So in having it in places like Bombay, Calcutta, and all, there's no space for it to
Yeah.
expand. You
Yeah.
have to go into the interiors where there is space. So
Yeah.
places like Jaipur, Rajasthan, Bhopal, Chandigarh, Amritsar, Patiala, that's where the sport can really grow.
Right.
So we need to get into the, and it is growing.
Okay.
Schools, colleges are now boarding schools like Mayo College, Scindia School,
Yes.
and there are many, many schools, Lawrence School, Lovedale. They all have equestrian programs. So it
Okay.
is starting to grow gradually. So we
Okay.
just have to make sure that we stay away from the main cities and go into the 2 and 3 tier cities.
Wonderful. Let's talk about Marcus Oldham College,
Yes,
and you did your equine. Would I
equine.
equine
Yeah.
management,
Yes, yes.
and not many would know what happens there. And
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
1-year course.
Yeah, it's a 1 year course. It's basically, in our sport, it's a lot to do with how we manage these horses. So I really learned that there. It's an actually full degree course,
Yeah.
and it's very, very intense.
Yeah.
And it's all about the anatomy of a horse, the kinesiology of a horse, the medication for the horses at different stages. A lot to do with the breeding side as well, the
Yeah.
business side as well, but also with the horse health side. So,
Okay.
with it also covers topics like nutrition, farriery. So quite intense, and it was a wonderful course. I made some great friends, and that's where it all started because that's where I met the MacArthurs, another person,
Oh,
another
oh, yes.
angel that came into my life.
Oh, yes. A great family that
Yes,
supported you. I mean, and you have mentioned in the book that there was at couple of instances there it was a dangerous time, because this is such a sport, it's dangerous. And
right.
I would like you to tell us about the event, especially the Olympics event. What is the format, and of
Yes.
course how dangerous it is.
Right, right. So basically, in equestrian has three disciplines. So at the Olympics, there's dressage, there's show jumping, and then there's eventing. Eventing is what I did. So it's actually a combination of all the three. So it's like the triathlon on one horse. So day one is the dressage, where you are wearing tails and a top hat, and there's an arena, and there are three judges, and you're marked on every movement. The movements are set, you learn them by heart, and you have got to be absolutely precise. So it's about collection, calmness, and the oneness between you and your horse. Day two, everything changes. You change your gear, you wear a body protector, you put bandages on your horse. It's like literally going into war. You know, you're ready. And you're absolutely ready to gallop flat out 4 to 5 kilometers at very, very high, at fast speeds and undulating terrain. That's where the danger comes in. And the other part which is dangerous, the horse has never seen that course. So he has no clue where he's going. Once he gets at the box, he's going exactly where you tell him. And he's seeing the jump for the very first time. So he has to be bold. He has to be fearless. You have to be bold and fearless. I mean, I used to be so scared. I can't tell you. The night before, you know, you don't sleep that well. The morning you get up 2-3 hours early. You know, your hands are sweating. You're nervous. You know, and it's not about like any other event where, you know, worried about winning and losing. Here, I'm worried about whether I'm going to be alive or whether I'm going to complete the event. You know, so very so different. And then the third day, we come back and show jump. So that's what people see on TV. They only see the third day, you know, where they're actual fences, and there are 12 fences, and you have to jump them in a specific amount of time and keep the fences up. And then our points are accumulated for all 3 days. So that's what the 3-day event is. So it's really, it's the true proving how versatile the horse is.
But quite a grueling sort of scenario. And, you know, the qualification process itself, while reading the book, I was like, it's hard work. I mean, it's not easy, because these events don't happen like very often, as in there
gap between the recovery period for a horse after an event is a lot. So they can only do 2 in a year. So it's a lot.
Wow. I mean, it's a tough sport, to be honest. And kind of my penultimate question. The moment you beat Matt Ryan, and that was kind of a watershed moment for you, because you know, it's one thing, you know, believing in your head, but actually kind of execution. You know, that happened kind of for the first time, I think so.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us more about that, you know, part.
So it was a very special moment, because my first time I was at a 1-star. So that's the first, you know, like our event goes on 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, and then the Olympics is 4. Now the Olympic, you know, so it takes, it's 4 stars. The Asian game is only a 1-star event, actually. So a lot of riders actually have, that's why it's so hard for us, because most Indians have to go overseas for competition experience, or they go overseas for just a little bit of coaching. We actually have to go overseas for even qualifying. So we have to go 3-4 years. So it's a lot of years of sacrifice rather than any other sport, you know, where you're actually giving up.
Just to cut you off, what would be the difficulty level difference between 1 and 4-star?
Oh, massive, huge. It's not on the same field. The same horse cannot do it. It's very few riders actually make it to the 4-star level.
So there's a huge difference then between Asian Games and Olympics.
Exactly. So not like any other sport, you know, when you do well or you win a medal at the Asian Games, your next is Commonwealth or the Olympic Games. Ours, it's not. Most people do at Asian Games, they stay at Asian Game level, because the next levels are 4 levels higher. It's not like if it was 1-star and the Olympics was 2, fair enough, or even 1 and 2 or 3. We are talking about 4. So it's 4 levels higher. It's another ball game, you know, and that's why you have to be abroad. You have to be based abroad, train abroad, and compete abroad. So it's very hard. So actually, when I was a college student at Marcus Oldham, you know, I was only a student. It was a borrowed horse. A girl gave me a horse, so it was a horse that I had a fantastic bond with. It was like Rajesh. Literally, as Rajesh had come back Rajesh came back in a few other forms. He came back as Baggy. He came back again as Spring Invader. I think it was Rajesh coming back again and saying, "Now I'm going to be a little bigger and stronger. I can take you to the next stage." You know? So I had this amazing bond with Baggy, who had never won a competition in his entire life. And once I got to know, we always on the podium. We never first, second, or third, never out. So it was just nothing. I don't say that I was some great rider. It was just a combination. We just got along. We did extremely well. We trusted each other. So it was quite special. My parents had come, you know, it was graduation, at the end of graduation. And to be in that ring, even with Matt Ryan, you know, these are people for me. I was a young boy. So I would look up to them. I would be reading his books, and now I'm competing with him, you know. So it's a different feeling to actually be there. So of course, it's nice to win. But, you know, you got to be humble, because he's still he's still a fantastic rider, and he's still achieved far more than I have. It was just on that day, whoever's lucky, you know, that's the beauty of our sport.
Yeah. I'm just imagining. I mean, someone who has won a medal. Did he? Was he an Olympian winner at that
Yes,
point
yeah,
in time?
double gold medalist.
Double gold medalist.
Double
And
gold.
what would he have gone through while losing? I mean, it's quite humbling, the
Yes,
experience,
yes.
because you are somebody who is new to the circuit.
Yeah, nobody.
Oh, wow. Okay. My final question. And
Okay.
at several places in the book, you have mentioned talking to the horse,
Yes.
speaking to the horse. I mean, I found it kind of, it's a quirk. I mean, I don't know if all, horse riders do that, or if it is a requirement of the sport. Is that the way you connect? Kind of, can you
No, it's
explain?
you actually connect with actually just bonding with them, with
Okay.
spending time with them, rubbing them. They don't understand, but I talk. It's for you. I even till
Okay.
today,
Okay.
my stables are right behind my house. Every
Yeah.
evening after dinner, I take a walk in the stables. I
Yeah.
spend time with each horse and I talk to them. How are you? How was your day today? Have you eaten your food? As if they don't understand. It's just a matter of me spending their ears a little flopped. I give them a little hug and a kiss, and then I move to the next horse. That's my way of bonding. The way of I feel good that I'm actually communicating with them. It's very special. I really tell people try the sport because it's one sport where strength and stamina are not involved. It's a
Yeah.
sport where men and women compete together. That's the reason. So it's everybody's on the same playing field. And it's just a wonderful animal and teaches you so much more than
Yeah.
just a sport. The character building is unreal.
Yeah. I said final question, but we haven't talked about Harper, and we have to, because the publishing the book. I mean, of course, guys,
Yes.
do pick it up, and it's shining here. Oh yes, yes, this is for. So, to publish such a book, I mean, what happened? Because I don't know if you had this on the horizon coming, that you had to, kind of
Yeah.
write this story, or did they approach you? What happened there?
So basically, I always wanted to, but never really got because I'm a very busy person even now. Like I could never sit down to write a book. I'm saying how who has the time? I'm like writing even like this morning. I've got up at 5 o'clock. I've ridden my horses. I've taught students, and then so it's always trying
You're
to do as
always
much.
out there. You are
Yes,
always
yes.
doing
Try,
something.
trying
Yeah.
to do as much as I can.
Yeah.
The pandemic happened, and we all locked down. We're sitting there, and then these thoughts come in my mind. So I had a chat with Harper, and we started, and it was really lovely because even my editor, Sachin, as soon as I told him about it, even the way the passion that I had and the excitement, he said, no, 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 just stop. We're going to do it. I said, what? I think it's going to be great because he said I've never seen so much energy anybody has. So that was just lovely. Then he said, now let's get to the formal side. He said,
Right.
now let's talk about the synopsis. Let's talk about the book.
Yes.
How we're going to go about it will be the second stage. But he
Yes.
said, I'm telling you from now we're going to do it because he said this is so exciting. I'm excited even just hearing, just hearing you talk.
I think this story goes way beyond the sport,
Yes.
and that is what is needed from a sports
Yeah.
person's autobiography. I mean, of course, we have seen the sports person, perform, and we really want to know the backstory, the behind the scenes, and the journey. And it has been an amazing one. Thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to be in the company of an Olympian, and this is my first time, so I will always remember this,
No,
always
no. Thank
cherish
you so
this.
much.
And to many more, Olympians for India, of course. And
Absolutely.
thanks for writing this book. And all the book lovers who are watching this, go pick up the book. You won't regret it. I mean, we all have, read so many autobiographies, but this one is different and special because it's about the, setbacks. It's
Yes.
amazing how honest Imtiaz has been. And thank you so much for this one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And your honest feedback. That also it means a lot to me. So thank you so much.
And it's not that, it's not a very huge sort of, tome,
Yes.
so you can breeze through it like with on a weekend, so
Yes.
don't worry about it, guys. Okay, thank you so much,
Thank
Imtiaz.
you very much.
Thank you so much. See you
Bye.
soon. Yeah, bye.